All right, folks, this article is blowing my mind. We have done a lot of Trump and Elon coverage on this channel while maintaining a balance and still talking about the big ugly bill, still talking about Russia and Ukraine and other topics. But this may be the best behind-the-scenes look we've gotten thus far, and this is the article that exposes what's been going on behind the scenes throughout all of this. So I don't want to waste any time. Let's jump right in. It's called Inside the Battles That Shattered Trump and Musk's Alliance. Trump called Musk a big-time drug addict in a phone call shortly after their public feud. There's also reporting that Scott Bessent and Elon Musk did get in a physical altercation. We've heard about this for a few weeks, but there is confirmed reporting that Elon Musk apparently shoulder-checked Scott Bessent, or the other way around. We'll read it in just 1 second. This says, President Donald Trump was dejected, processing his very public split with the world's richest man. Rattled in the wake of Elon Musk's public attacks and apparent call for his impeachment, Trump worked the phones, debriefing close confidants and casual acquaintances alike. His former ally was a, quote, big-time drug addict, Trump said at one point as he tried to make sense of Musk's behavior. So Donald Trump was telling aides and allies that he had a big-time drug addict working in the White House side by side for the past few months. Not even the past few months, like 5 days ago. Remember, like 5 days ago, they were standing right next to each other. Musk has acknowledged using ketamine, a powerful anesthetic, but the New York Times recently reported that he was taking so much ketamine on the campaign trail, he told people it affected his bladder, and he traveled with a pill box with medications like Adderall and others. But the president, who historically hasn't hesitated to fire off deeply personal, blistering social media posts, was more muted regarding Musk than friends and advisors expected. I honestly thought he showed an atypical amount of restraint for Trump. If you just put it in the context of how Trump acts, I thought he had a decent amount of restraint given the moment. But the bar is in hell, basically. But listen to how absolutely terrified Trump is of whatever Elon Musk knows. This says, the president, who historically hasn't hesitated to fire off tweets, was more muted against Musk. In the aftermath of his Thursday face-off, he urged those around him not to pour gasoline on the fire, according to two people with knowledge of his behavior. He also told Vice President J.D. Vance to be cautious with how he spoke publicly about the Musk situation, but it was too late because J.D. Vance had already said Elon was kind of going crazy on Theo Vaughn's podcast. I covered that earlier. But Trump is definitely scared. Listen, although the break between Musk and Trump only exploded into public view on Thursday, cracks in the alliance began to appear much earlier. As Musk's move fast and break things bravado complicated the White House's ambitions to remake American society, the billionaire alienated key members of the White House staff, including Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, and quarreled with cabinet members, physically coming to blows with one. The account of the unraveling of the alliance between Trump and Musk is based on interviews with 17 people with knowledge of the events, including many who spoke on the condition of anonymity to talk candidly about sensitive conversations. So here we have the complete breakdown from 17 people close to the situation on what happened. White House officials say Trump has remained focused on his legislative and cost-cutting agenda, even as the battle between the two men has riveted Washington. The amount of lies in that one sentence, what do you mean cost-cutting agenda? Everything Trump has done is added to the debts, and I can almost guarantee Trump is not focused on anything in Washington. He's been thinking a lot about Elon Musk. We know this. He's been asking aides and people around him, was Elon on drugs? We'll read more about the phone calls right here. Behind closed doors, however, retaliation against Musk has been the topic of conversations among admin officials. Trump on Truth Social has called for public scrutiny of Musk's government contracts, potentially imperiling his business empire. And really quickly, last night, on Friday night, I went out with some friends, and this morning, I slept in. Now I feel like absolute shit. But we're still making the videos. We're still grinding out video after video. So if you appreciate, the post-party videos, make sure you drop a like. Make sure you subscribe. Drop some blue hearts. But let's continue. Trump on Truth Social has called for public scrutiny of Musk's government contracts, potentially imperiling his business empire. Republicans, meanwhile, are wary of how the world's richest man could use his deep coffers to retaliate against them, especially as he floats the launch of a third political party, or even funding Democrats, which Trump said there would be very serious consequences for, which is insane. Very serious consequences for somebody supporting a political party? It's just very serious consequences for the thing that Elon Musk did to you, for you, over the past few months. Musk arrived in Washington in January as Trump's most powerful ally, spending nights in the Lincoln bedroom while serving as a top White House advisor. The first signs of trouble emerged in February when an email landed in inboxes throughout the government directing federal employees to describe their 5 accomplishments over the past week. We remember this. Cabinet officials and other agency leaders weren't given advance notice of the memo, causing consternation at the highest levels of the Trump admin. Remember, the FBI, Kash Patel, I remember Tulsi Gabbard, all of these people were saying, don't follow this email if you're in our department. So Elon Musk basically sent out an email, then every Trump admin official contradicted him and said, you don't have to respond to this. So when officials learned the email had gone out to some federal district judges who were not a part of the executive branch, and others who had handled confidential information, the feeling grew that Musk fundamentally misunderstood the federal government or did not have the dexterity to maneuver through it. Despite the tension, Trump and his deputy chief of staff, Stephen Miller, stuck by Musk's side. But Wiles grew increasingly agitated. She was the one that called him a political liability. Wiles seems to be a very solid political strategist behind the scenes. So, Wiles grew increasingly agitated about clashes between Musk's U.S. Doge service and other admin leaders. She seemed to have spotted the problem. As Musk and his Doge team attempted to slash federal grants, dismiss federal bureaucrats, and shutter U.S. aid, he became a line of attack for Trump's political opponents, and for a good reason. At demonstrations across the country, signs read, "No one voted for Elon Musk," and protesters began to take to the streets. On April 1st, the first major referendum on Musk arrived. Musk had flooded Wisconsin with cash to boost the Trump-aligned candidate in a race for a seat he lost badly. A wake-up call for Republicans who began to realize that Musk had gone from political risk to political liability. Quote, "There's a real recognition in the White House and on the Hill that the Elon brand has become a real problem," one person said. At the same time, Musk, like many other business leaders, was growing disillusioned with Trump's economic policies. On April 2nd, when the president rolled out tariffs intended to remake the economy, Musk took to X to express his displeasure with the levies and called Trump's trade advisor and longtime ally Peter Navarro a moron. In private, Musk made personal appeals to Trump to reverse the tariffs. Trump did not comply, only relenting days later after a steep decline in bond markets. Not long after this, Musk's tension with Trump's trade team devolved into blows in an altercation with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, said Steve Bannon, the influential right-wing podcaster. In mid-April, Musk and Bessent had gone into the Oval Office to make their respective cases about their preferences for acting IRS commissioner. Trump decided to support Bessent's choice. That disagreement was first reported by the New York Times. After Bessent and Musk exited the Oval Office and began walking down the hallway, the two men started to exchange insults, Bannon said, adding that Bessent brought up Musk's claims that he would uncover more than $1 trillion in wasteful fraud, which Musk had not succeeded in doing. Quote, Scott said, "You're a fraud. You're a total fraud," Bannon said in an interview. Musk then rammed his shoulder into Bessent's ribcage, like a rugby player, Bannon said, and Bessent hit him back. This is not where the black eye came from. This was months ago, and the report that this happened comes from Steve Bannon. So while, yes, the Washington Post and the New York Times and everybody is reporting this, it is coming from Steve Bannon, but nobody has disputed it. So, to continue right here, Musk then rammed into his shoulder into Bessent's ribcage like a rugby player, Bannon said, and Bessent hit him back. Multiple people stepped in to break up the scrum as the two men reached the National Security Advisor's office, and Musk was shuffled out of the West Wing. President Trump heard about it and said, "This is too much," Bannon said. In late April, Musk said he would be pulling back from Washington to focus more on his businesses, especially Tesla, which was struggling. Musk said he would still be spending part of his time in Washington, and his Silicon Valley allies claimed he would still run Doge from afar. I mean, we're really getting a picture of genuinely a drug addict. I mean, we know this, but a deep, deep drug addict, someone who is deep in the hole, like he is in the worst position he's been in his life, it seems like, I'm just guessing, and that coincides with him having as much political power as he could possibly ever want. This is insane. Musk's ambition is to colonize Mars, and having an ally heading NASA was a major goal for him, but Isaacman had made numerous political contributions to Democratic candidates, a liability, and an admin that prioritizes loyalists. That likely was not the real reason. Trump knew about the donations. Just more than a week ago, on the tech billionaire's final day as special government employee, Sergio Gore, the director of the presidential personnel, armed Trump with printouts showing Isaacman's donations. Trump informed Musk that he was pulling Isaacman for the role due to concerns over his loyalty. But Isaacman, in a weird twist of events, I watched an interview with Isaacman when this was all coming out. This dude is actually genuinely really qualified. Isaacman genuinely seems like he would have been qualified to do this, so Trump decided not to appoint him because he wasn't loyal enough. Gore's role was no coincidence. The longtime Trump aide had clashed with Musk throughout the transition, disagreeing on recommendations for appointments. Tensions between the two escalated in March after Musk came to believe that Gore had leaked his story to the New York Times about a meeting in which Musk clashed with multiple cabinet members, according to a person with knowledge of the situation. Musk's suspicions were piqued because the story did not mention his criticism of Gore's office, the person said. Interesting. Gore made it known to others that he wanted to retaliate against Musk. When Trump decided to pull the Isaacman nomination, the decision appeared to be a blow to Musk's ambitions in space. Despite the tensions that were mounting, Musk and Trump presented a unified front that day during a formal send-off for Musk in the Oval Office, where Trump gave him a ceremonial key and praised him as one of the greatest business leaders and innovators the world has ever produced, but I'm starting to wonder if Trump is even second-guessing that line. Days after, the acrimony between the men exploded on X as Musk attacked Trump's signature legislation, said the Epstein line. We know all about this part. Senior White House officials tried to play down the impact, insisting the president already knew where Musk stood on the topic, but Trump's restraint faltered Thursday during an Oval Office appearance as he told reporters he was disappointed in Musk and questioned the future of their friendship. Trump said Musk's criticism of the bill was rooted in his concern that it would eliminate a tax credit for EVs that benefited Tesla. Musk denied that accusation and responded with a long tirade. In the hours after the blow-up, some in Trump's orbit believed a quick reconciliation was possible, gathering from their own interactions with the president and conversation with each other that he was open to, make amends with Musk. But by morning, those prospects had receded. Trump on Friday insisted that he had no interest in speaking with Musk, telling CNN and ABC reporters as much in phone calls, and also sharing that sentiment with advisors, according to a White House official. He told aides he was considering selling the red Tesla that has been parked outside the White House, a vehicle the White House said had been bought at market rate in March, after Musk displayed several of his vehicles on the White House lawn. I can't speak. I feel terrible right now. But to continue. Meanwhile, Musk continued to fan the flames, doubling down on his unsubstantiated claim that Trump was implicated in documents related to convicted sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. He questioned what he had to apologize to Trump for and mused about launching an alternative party called the America Party. And that is the story. If you appreciate the breakdown, drop a like, subscribe. See you all in the next one. Peace out.